Welcome to ASVAB Speed. In this video, it is a compilation of 10 paragraph comprehension questions fully explained. Let's begin. Paragraph comprehension. From a building designer's standpoint, three things that make a home livable are the needs of the client, the building site, and the amount of money the client can spend. According to the passage, to make a home livable, what? Remember to pause and solve on your own first. Let's begin. All right, let's get out the highlighter and get some key phrases here. So what are we trying to answer? According to the passage, to make a home livable, what? So if I look at A, land makes little difference. If I look at B, can be built on any piece of land. C, design must fit the owner's income and site. D, design must fit the designer's income. All right, let's take a look at A. The land makes a little difference. Well, right here, no, the building site is one of the three most important elements. And again, B can be built on any piece of land. Well, no, because right here, building site's one of the three most important things. Design must fit the homeowner's income and site. That's a maybe, because I see money and building site. So let's look at D. Design must fit designer's income. Well, no. Right here, client income. So let's get rid of D. That leaves us C. Design must fit the owner's income and site as the best answer. Paragraph comprehension. In certain areas, water is so scarce that every attempt is made to conserve it. For instance, on one oasis in the Sahara Desert, the amount of water necessary for each date palm tree has been carefully determined. How much water is each tree given? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. All right, let's get out the highlighter, look at key terms. So what are we answering? How much water is each tree given? And if we look at the answers, the options are no water, exactly, only if it's healthy, and alternate days. So let's look at A, no water at all. Well, that doesn't make sense because the whole second sentence is about carefully determined water. Exactly the amount on B. I kind of like that. Because it's carefully determined. Let's save that for now. C, only if it's healthy. Well, I don't see anything talking about the water's health. Water only on alternate days. I don't see anything about alternate days. So we eliminated A, C, and D. That leaves our B, exactly the amount required, as the best answer. Paragraph comprehension. Few drivers realize that steel is used to keep the road surface flat despite the weight of buses and trucks. Steel bars, deeply embedded in the concrete, are sinews to take the stresses so that the stresses cannot crack the slab or make it wavy. This passage best supports the statement that a concrete road blank. Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. All right, let's get the highlighter. We're trying to do a concrete road is what? Is it A, expensive? Is it B, usually cracks? Is it C, looks like the end of the road? Or D, reinforced with other material? So if we look for A, expensive, if I scan through, I don't see purchase, buy, expense. I don't think it's A, usually cracks. Now the word crack is here, but it also says cannot crack. So I don't think it's B. C, looks like. There's nothing about image, nothing about looks. So I don't think it's C. And D, even though it's the last answer, let's make sure that there's evidence that it's a good answer and we didn't make mistakes elsewhere. So reinforced with other material. Well, I see the statement right here. Steel bars deeply embedded in the concrete. So that gives us evidence that D is reinforced with other material is the best answer. Paragraph comprehension. More patents have been issued for inventions relating to transportation than for those in any other line of human activity. These inventions have resulted in a great financial saving to the people and have made possible a civilization that could not have existed without them. Which of the following statements best supports the passage that transportation, what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. All right, let's get out the highlighter and take a look. So we are answering, we're looking for the best supported statement about transportation. And we have some absolute words here. Be careful. Impossible, that is an absolute. Very important words in paragraph comprehension questions. And also look at D. Is more important than any other activity. That's an absolute. Absolutes can get tricky. It's there to throw you off. Now let's look into all the answers. So would be impossible without inventions. Well, it actually doesn't talk about the possibility or impossibility of any of this stuff happening. So that's not really what the section's about. Let's look at B. It's an important factor in our civilization. Well, if I scan, I see the word civilization right here. That could not have existed without them. Well, important factor and could not have existed. That lines up. So let's hang on to B. That's a maybe answer. C is still much to be improved. If I scan through, I don't see words like get better, improve, more improved. I don't see things like that. I don't think it's C, and then D is more important than any other activity. If I scan, I see the word activity here, but activity is in reference to patents and inventions and transportation, that kind of activity. So that's not what we're talking about. So based on all the options, it looks like B is an important factor in our civilization is the best answer. Paragraph comprehension. The Supreme Court was established by Article 3 of the Constitution. Since 1869, it has been made up of 9 members, the Chief Justice and 8 Associate Justices, who are appointed for life. Supreme Court justices are named by the President and must be confirmed by the Senate. The Supreme Court, what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. All right, let's get out the highlighter. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to find the best statement that goes along with the Supreme Court. So if we look at A, established in 1869, B, appointed by the Senate, C, 9 justices, D, changes with each president. Now, and then we'll start with A. So this one's interesting. So 1869, if we go up here, 1869, but this says was established in 1869. This just says since 1869 there have been 9 members. So that one doesn't work. B, appointed by the Senate. Well, if I skim here, I see Senate must be confirmed by the Senate. That's not the same as appointed because they are named by the President. So B doesn't work. Consists of 9 justices. Well, if we go up here, since 1869, there have been 9 members, the Chief Justice and 8 Associate Justices, so I like that. We'll keep that for now. D, changes with each president. Well, the Supreme Court justices are named by the president, but it doesn't mean they change each time with the president, so D doesn't work. So based on our options, it looks like C, consists of 9 justices, is the best option. Paragraph comprehension. Except for Earth, all the planets in our solar system are named for gods and goddesses in Greek or Roman legends. This is because the other planets were believed to be in heaven like the gods, and our planet lay beneath like the Earth. All the planets except Earth, what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. All right, let's get out the highlighter. Super important word, except. Super tricky word in paragraph comprehension questions. Be very careful with that. All the planets except Earth. And if we look at answer A, part of Greek and Roman legends. B, believed to be in heaven. C, part of the same solar system. D, worshipped as gods. So let's go line by line and look for evidence. So A, part of Greek and Roman legends. Well, here in first sentence, named for gods and goddesses in Greek and Roman legends. That's not the same as part of Greek and Roman legends. I don't like A. B, we're believed to be in heaven. Well, if we skim through right here, believed to be in heaven. So word for word, I like B. Let's hang on to that for now. C, part of the same solar system. Well, remember, except Earth. Well, Earth is obviously in the same solar system, so that doesn't work. D, worshipped as gods. Well, here, named for gods. Nowhere in this passage does it talk about worshiping, so I don't like D. Based on the options, B, we're believed to be in heaven, is the best answer. Paragraph comprehension. Both the high school and the college should take the responsibility for preparing the student to get a job. Because the ability to write a good application letter is one of the first steps toward this goal, every teacher should be willing to do what he or she can do to help the student learn to write such letters. The paragraph best supports the statement that, what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. All right, so let's get out the highlighter. So here we're looking for the statement that supports this passage. So if we look at A, let's see, inability to write, and that reduces the job prospects. B, major responsibility of the school is to obtain jobs. C, let's see, for who the work student applies for first, and every teacher should teach a course. All right, let's look for evidence. So inability to write. Well, the whole thing is about the difficulty of writing and how students need to do better reduces one's job prospects. If we look at the first sentence, preparing the student to get a job. So that's interesting. I think A is a maybe. Let's go to B. Major responsibility of the school is to obtain jobs. Well, this whole passage talks about helping the student write. It doesn't specifically talk about helping them or making them or giving them a job. So I don't like B. Let's go to C. The type of work the student applies to. This passage, I don't see any kind of work. I don't see any kind of jobs. D, every student should teach a course. Well, it talks about each teacher should be willing to help and do what they can. It doesn't talk about teaching a course. So based on the four options, I think A, inability to write a good letter often reduces one's job prospects is the best answer. Paragraph comprehension. Many people think that only older men who have a great deal of experience should hold public office. These people lose sight of an important fact. Many of the founding fathers of our country were comparatively young men. Today, more than ever, our country needs young, idealistic politicians. The best interpretation of what this author believes is that, what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. All right, let me get my highlighter out. And what are we trying to answer? We're looking for the best interpretation of what this author believes. And there's some keywords here in the answers. These are some absolutes. If we look at A, only experienced. B, only idealistic. C, let's see, younger men can and should. D, young people don't like politics. Absolute words are tricky and you need to be careful with them in paragraph comprehension questions. Now let's look at A, only experienced men. Now remember, this is the author believes. Well, if we look at that first line, the author says many people think only men that are experienced. So that doesn't quite work. It's not the author's opinion. Let's look at B, only idealistic men. Well, if we skim, I see here at the bottom, idealistic, and it talks about young and idealistic. It doesn't say only idealistic men should hold public office. B doesn't work. Younger men can and should take part. Well, again, we look at that last line. Today, more than ever, our country needs young, idealistic politicians. I think C's a maybe. We'll hang on to C for now. D, young people don't like politics. That, let's see, don't like, doesn't like. When I skim through, I don't see anything like that the author's trying to push out or suggest that young people don't like politics. D doesn't work. So we have C, younger men can and should take part in politics as the best answer. Paragraph comprehension. The X-ray has gone into business. Developed primarily to aid in diagnosing human ills, the machine now works in packing plants, foundries, and service stations, and in a dozen ways contributes to precision and accuracy in industry. The X-ray, what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. So let's get out the highlighter, and what are we trying to answer? We need a statement that matches the passage about the X-ray. So if we look at A, let's see, it was first developed to aid business. B, improve the functioning of industry. C, looks like we're comparing packing plants with foundries. And D, increase the output of industries. Now let's look for evidence. So with A, first developed to aid business. Well, if we look at sentence number 2, developed primarily to aid in human ills. So A is nope, that's incorrect. B, used to improve the functioning of industry. Well, we do have multiple examples of different industries and the way it's improving. So B is a maybe. C is more accurate in packing plants than foundries. Well, it does list packing plants and list foundries, but it doesn't compare them in any way. So I don't like C. D, increases the output. As I skim through, I don't see any kind of output. I don't think any kind of supply. I don't see any kind of like increasing numbers in any way. I don't like D. So based on our options, it looks like B is being used to improve the functioning of industry is the best answer. Paragraph comprehension. In large organizations, some standardized, simple, inexpensive method of giving employees information about company policies and rules, as well as specific instructions regarding their duties, is practically essential. This is the purpose of all office manuals of whatever type. The paragraph best supports the statement that office manuals what? Remember to pause, solve on your own, put your answer in the comments. Let's begin. All right, let's get out the highlighter, and what are we looking for? We want to know what best supports considering office manuals. If we look at A, all about the same. B, simple enough for the average employee. C, necessary to large organizations. D, constant reminders of duties. Now let's look for evidence. So all about the same. Well, I think when you look at the last line, the purpose of all office manuals of whatever type, I feel like the purpose is all about the same, but not the manuals itself. So I don't think A works. B should be simple enough for the average employee. Simple, that word's in there, employee's in there, but it doesn't really say it has to be simple enough for the average employee. It doesn't really reference an employee in that regard. I'm not a fan of B. Let's see what C is. Necessary to large organizations. Well, I do see the word essential. Essential is a synonym for necessary. Well as specific instructions regarding their duties, practically essential. So I kind of like C. We're going to hang on to that for a moment. D, act as constant reminders of their duties. Well, the word duties is here, but constant reminders. There's no constant, there's no reminders, and I think of office manuals more as a reference guide, the way that they're describing it, as opposed to constant reminders. So based on the options, I think we have C, are necessary to large organizations, as the best answer. Thank you for watching. At ASVAB Speed, you can watch question walkthroughs in all 9 subject areas, helping you pass the ASVAB faster.